Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the New Artist Spotlight podcast. I'm Wilko Wilkes.
And once again, it's your man's Origin.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the New Artist Spotlight podcast as we interview some of the best emerging artists from around the globe. The whole New Artist Spotlight community is part of this podcast, and we really appreciate you listening and giving us your feedback. We love hearing from you, and we look forward to meeting as many of you as possible in the coming months and years. Any questions or comments that you've got on the podcast, please feel free to DM either of us. You can get me on Instagram and wherever, or wilkowilks@gmail.com.
You can reach me at origin_cross on Instagram.
And as always, remember to check out the website, newartistspotlight.org, where there's loads of news, reviews, all sorts of cool stuff, guides, whatever you can dream of in your wildest dreams, to be honest, and loads of great content.
Now, today's guest is one of Finland's finest. Welcome to the show, Willjoy.
Thank you, Wilkes and Crxss, and really glad to be here.
Great to have you, mate. Nice to meet you and see this glorious face in real life.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So for anyone who hasn't heard your music before, like I have, and Origin has, we've been listening to Willjoy for a bit. I've certainly checked out the last few days, and there's some amazing stuff there. But for anyone who hasn't, you just tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, a little bit about your music.
Yeah, so I originate from Pori, Finland. It's a pretty small town, but we have this famous music festival, Pori Jazz, in our town. So maybe that's something that's known maybe worldwide, but
never heard of it.
I'm all right, but some people have.
Crush them like that.
Yeah, just bring me down. No worries. I mean, my profession is really a carpenter. I've been a working man for most of my life, but I've been making 2 years music now. So I'm 2 years into music, and I prefer myself as an electronic artist. So I tend to keep my music electronic in some ways, more or less. So I don't know if there's much more about that, really. I mean, I'm experimenting a lot of stuff, and I'm doing a lot of different things, but we'll get on to that later, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say I've seen a lot of your equipment on your Instagram feed. I was just wondering if you could let us in a little bit on your process, and just, do you do all your own production? Do you collaborate? Anything possibly coming?
Oh, well, I have done everything myself from start to finish. So I've used no samples, 0 samples at all. So I have this little keyboard that I've used so far. So it's ridiculously small, but I like finger drummed every melody there that I have in every song. So it's trial and error, I guess. I mean, I'm drumming a lot of melodies, and sometimes I'm feeling something, and sometimes I'm not feeling something. But I tend to try a lot of things, and what fits, and I tend to try to feel the music and try to find the pockets, so to speak, so that it just fits and feels good to my ear. So I don't know. I
like that,
have
mate.
never played instruments really that much.
That's crazy, and that is mad. And you can hear that in your style. It isn't like anything else I've heard. I was trying to think what it reminds me of, and I went through several things in my head, and the closest thing I got was maybe a little bit of 9 Inch Nails, but then I don't really think it sounds like that either. It's almost like you've got like disco stuff. You've also got like your sort of inimitable voice on it as well, which is a little bit, I don't know, man. It's a little bit like new, Rob Zombie or someone like that.
I know Rob Zombie, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't really. Yeah, it's good though. I think if I took your process, like you were saying there, I would never get anything finished. If I had to make everything from scratch, so it's pretty impressive that you're actually finishing songs. Do you do the beat first and then the music or anything like that, or?
Well, I tend to. Well, my process has changed a little. I mean, I now I go for the drum and bass and get the feel from that, and then I start creating the melody on top of the drum and bass. So once I get myself jamming for the drum and
It's a
bass,
solid process.
then I just start putting the melody in. Once the melody is in, I just start singing gibberish. Yeah, I mean, it's my process of writing songs really, because I once I got the melody in, and then I just start singing gibberish because English isn't my first and foremost language. So I tend to speak Finnish, of course. So English is my second language. So I just sing like Saturday decide to know I lay low here. It doesn't make sense really.
It reminds me of The Sims, the computer
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to do that a lot. And when I hear it over and over what I've done, and I just go with the feel of it, and then I just start hearing the story behind what I'm actually singing in the melody wise. So then I start to incorporate my life stories and somewhat into the song itself.
That's good, man. It's time consuming.
It is, yeah. But I tend to be, and I like to be thorough with these.
Nice. So it sounds like to me like you kind of go a lot off of groove, I would say, because you say you start with the basically the percussion, the drums, and things like that, and that's kind of where you start off. You kind of get a vibe from that, and then you say once that's laid and got the melody on top, then you kind of do the gibberish.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the gibberish is basically like I've set up songs that same way where basically I'll just either rap or I'll just literally just make noises in a pattern and switch up the rhythm and then put the words to it later. And so it's kind of like you're establishing kind of the rhythm of what you're going to put the lyrics to. So
Exactly. Yes.
you have rhythm for the beat first and then rhythm for the lyrics first, and then you build on those.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to work.
Just out of interest as well, like you've got 4 songs on Spotify. You said you were doing it 2 years so far. Have you got more? Have you got more held back, or are you constantly sort of chasing your tail, sort of doing one song, releasing it, doing one song, releasing it, or have you got like a whole armory?
I've noticed. Yeah, I think I've got a whole armory of things right now. So I got loads of songs with great bones in them, and I've actually thought about that. I will make my debut album two-sided, so it will be dark and light-sided. So it will maybe host 13 songs altogether, and I have pretty much the bones for them ready already. So I actually have things ready for the second album as well. So I'm actually way
I like
ahead
that,
of
mate.
myself.
Planning well ahead, yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of things. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us about how you got involved with New Artist Spotlight then.
Well, I actually was looking for exposure to my first release. So I did a Google search on different Discord communities that I wanted to see what kind of communities they have musical wise. So I think I found it first that way. So then I saw NAS, and then I just saw that you should message Ed, and I did it on Instagram, and I messaged Ed, and I joined like 6 different groups, and NAS was one of them. And what really happened was that I found my first real musical family from NAS, and actually fell in love with the people within and the dialogue and all the discussions, and it felt like it wasn't just noise, And in 5 the other groups that I went in, it was just like everybody shouting that me, look at me, and I didn't like that. So it just didn't felt like me at all. So I just opted out from them and started, putting much more effort into NAS really. So, I mean, the experience so far has been more than great. And I mean, NAS has been lovely to me in so many ways that they have actually recognized me as an artist, and that I thought that would take years to do, but NAS has done it almost instantly, and that has been a huge help on my career, really. And the people within, they have such a big hearts, and they're such a lovely people and a lovely community, and everybody supports each other, and that's not a given in any other community that I've seen. So I'm really glad to be part of NAS.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there about everybody supporting each other, because a lot of artists don't support each other. They're all clamoring for the same space. And what you're saying about other groups that you've joined, and I've had the same experience where you join it, and it's basically just loads of artists posting their own links. Hey guys, I've got a tune out. Hey guys, I've got this out, which is, I understand why people do it, but it's nothing like the new artist spotlight where you've got different rooms and people are helping each other and really talking about each other rather than just talking about themselves all the time. And I mean, that's why we're here today. The podcast is one part of that, and we're lucky to have it.
Yeah, exactly. This is part of NAS as well. I mean, it gives great opportunities to all different kinds of artists. So, really glad that it exists.
Definitely. I feel like the greatest benefit of it is the community aspect, more so than how it helps you as far as streaming or the kind of superficial things like that of course we all want and that we all go after. I think it's the fact that it recognizes you as an artist. It connects you with other artists that you may have something similar in common with or something totally different, but you guys feel like you can make something work together. It's an opportunity to network. It's an opportunity to see different artists at different levels, and just in different spaces in their artistic journeys. So yeah, the community part of NAS. Am I the only person that calls it NAS over NAS? I don't know. I might be.
I usually say new artist spotlight. I think I go with the full thing. I don't really call it NAS though. I don't know. I don't know. Now you said that.
I've noticed it over the last few interviews. Everybody says NAS, and I say NAS. I don't know. To me, NAS just sounds like a weird sounding word.
Sounds like NAS.
NAS.
Right. Isn't that loved child has many names? So.
Yeah, that's true, mate. Yeah, we're gonna have to come out with some new ones as well. Just new artist S. Or an artist spotlight.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes it sound like it's a book author or something like that.
Yeah. NA spotlight. That's what I'll have to start going with. Yeah.
Maybe the community has to put out a book, and then that's what we'll put as the author, NA spotlight.
Yeah, Ed Eagle's author name.
Yeah, something like that. That would be cool. So you spoke a little bit about your songwriting process and kind of how you go about starting off, and then you also mentioned that you kind of incorporate your own life stories and things like that into it. Could you go a little deeper into that as far as once you're actually putting together the lyrics and writing, kind of how that process goes?
Well, I tend to drop a word here, word there, what would fit in place. And once I got a couple of words in, I just start feeling the song more and feel like what it's about for me, what it's telling me. And once I decode what the message should be in the melody and in the feel of the song, I just start thinking something in my life that could feel relatable to other people as well. So, I mean, we all have the same kind of things happening in our lives, even though they might differ a lot. So, I mean, I just love doing anything lyrical.
Something that we were talking about when in the one where Origin Cross's first podcast where I interviewed him was about lyrics and like how sort of personal they are to other people, or like, you know, do you think about when you write lyrics, are you thinking about what your mum might think when she hears them, what your girlfriend might think when she hears them, or are you just kind of doing it writing exactly what you want?
I'm in the zone in the moment, so I do exactly what I want and what I want people to hear. So it's definitely my story with no influence of thinking what other people think. It's just like I need to put this out there. It's just like it's just
Yeah,
brain flow that comes, and then I just start rolling with it, and it takes usually 2 to 3 days to get the lyrics written for a song. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Do you think that the time frame that it takes you to get that, well, actually it's kind of a two-part question. One, do you think the time frame that it takes you to get those songs completed or fully written is related to English not being your first language? Do you think it would go quicker if you were speaking Finnish in the songs? And the relatability aspect of it, that was also a thing that we talked about in the podcast that Wilko mentioned. So I know you're saying you're writing what you feel and you're telling your story and it's coming straight from you. But do you feel like that relatability is important, or how important do you feel it is as far as what you hope to accomplish with music, and how you hope to connect with fans?
yeah, it's definitely the way I want to connect with my fans, because it's exactly why I do music for, to connect with people and make people, to feel something with my music. So that's the lyrics come first pretty easily, although I write them in English. So I think I've tried writing in Finnish also, but I've noticed that it doesn't come as easy, which is pretty funny to me as well. I mean, English is my second language, yes, but I've always been subdued, and there's English coming from all over the places. I mean, I've watched a ton of movies in my lifetime, and that's where I've pretty much picked up all my English from. And English, just the vocabulary is just so large compared to Finnish vocabulary that it's a lot easier to implement stories and uh, pictures, so to speak, from the mind's eye to the language itself. So it's more colorful language, so to speak, that I love to write. And
That's really interesting to hear. Like, as an Englishman, that's really
Everybody
interesting.
thinks English is super hard and complex to learn, and people that don't speak English as a first language kind of hate learning English.
Yeah, that's what I've
I
heard before.
I felt quite the opposite my whole life. So I've always felt that English is more like my soul language, maybe closer to Finnish in some ways. So I don't
I
know.
like
Maybe I
that.
was born in the wrong country.
So, talking about your whole life, what about taking us like sort of back to the beginning? Like, what actually got you into music in the first place? What does young Willjoy listen to and what think about?
Well, my musical background. Well, I came from a working family, so not a lot of musical things around the family, unless you were talking about just plainly listening to music. But creativity was never frowned upon in our family, even though we were pretty poor. But I was able to make my first drum set when I was maybe 5 years old, and I made them from kettles and pans and garbage cans. So it was pretty creative
Those are the
stuff that
best.
I, yeah. And that's what I first got myself into drumming and into music itself. And I've loved singing about my whole life, but I've never sang in public. So this is when I'm now releasing music. This is my first, I'm coming out as an artist, and I'm not afraid to sing anymore in the ways that I was in let's say 5 years ago. But one thing that helped me through that was actually uh, an old report card that I found that I gotten maybe first or second grade. And the old report card said that the teacher written a note where it said that I have a good singing voice. And I was like, really? And this made me think about it in some ways. And I was like, maybe I should try to sing. Maybe I should try to sing more. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. So I guess I'm getting better each time I do it more and more. So I'm definitely keeping it on in everything I make. So I could say that as much as I enjoy creating all kinds of music and playing all the different things, I'd say that singing is the thing that I enjoy the most. And one thing I have to say to my musical background also that I've been a gamer a lot of my life, so I've enjoyed
Another
a lot
gamer.
of video games. Yeah, so I remember my first music game was a Music 2000 from PlayStation, and I played it a lot. And after that, when I was playing with computer, I played with Dance EJ, and that all that
Yeah, I
process.
used to be on that. Yeah. We're the same age, aren't we, me and you?
Yeah, and
Dance EJ was the business.
it was, yeah, and rolling with those samples, and it kind of, I think it stuck in that sense that it got me into electronic music, and what I'm doing now, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. And I like how you said you're sort of coming out as a singer as well. That's something where I've always loved to sing, but I never used to sing in public. And sometimes I get drunk and do karaoke, and I have the time of my life. But it's it's so, like, I think singing is such a primal thing. Like, I think as humans, we're meant to sing. We developed singing, thousands of years ago. They were singing. I do think there's a real innate joy in just singing, but also there's a real self-consciousness around it as well. And there is a lot of anxiety around singing in front of people. And it's one of those things that takes practice to actually get over. So, like, do you think you'll play live at some point?
Yes, definitely. I'd love to be on stage and sing in front of people. So I've
Right,
actually
that's cool.
one time I've been in front of people. It was a theatrical aspect. I didn't sing then, but I was in front of people just a short period of time. I was introducing a play, but in that 15, 20 seconds that I was there, I felt like home. So I can't wait to do it.
Love that, man. Love the enthusiasm. And so you've only been home for 15 to 20 seconds in your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Ready to go again.
You need to get that back, yeah. It's time to go home, mate.
Are you guys locked down like other places are, or what's your guys kind of status right now?
Oh yeah, we have been locked down pretty much pretty long time. We're closing things now because things are picking up in sense of COVID. But once the COVID started, I pretty much locked myself in. So the only time I leave to leave my house is really to go to the store to pick up food. It's not really much else. So I do food and music. That's pretty much it. That's my life.
That
right
sounds
now.
great, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, inside four walls.
We're not actually locked down anymore. We were for quite a while, but the last couple of months it's opened up a bit. So yeah, people are back in the pubs. Everyone's going to the football. 40, 50,000 people going to stadiums, and
yeah,
I think it's pretty much under control. Most people have been double jabbed now. I know I have.
yeah.
But I can't rule it out from coming again. I forget sometimes that still there's like loads of countries that are still locked down.
Yeah,
you move on so quickly.
I've had my first vaccination, but I'm getting my second next month. So after that, I'm maybe more assertive to do things. I'm being careful. I'm being careful.
You definitely got to be careful because it's like when you think you're not going to get it, you just might get it.
Exactly.
I've been fortunate enough not to get it. I haven't been vaccinated. I think I'm going to get vaccinated next month, but I don't want to try to get vaccinated here and then move in a week, and then I don't want there to be any weird complications that come up from being in a different state or anything like that. So I figured I would just wait. Plus, my wife's been vaccinated. She hasn't grown any extra limbs or turned into a zombie yet, so I'm thinking it might be safe, and my parents have it. So, yeah. But back to you. We've talked about your music and kind of your process, and you got unique influences in there. It sounds like to us, even though you kind of mentioned that you just kind of start and kind of go where it takes you. You got that rock sound, the metal sound, got the synths in there. So who did you listen to? Like, who are your favorite artists and things like that?
Well, my father induced me a lot of rock when I was growing up, so I tend to listen a lot of AC/DC, a lot of Led Zeppelin, and in excess as in INXS.
In excess.
Yeah, in excess. Yeah.
Yeah.
and Queen. And my brother listened more electronic music, like late night essential mixes and various different artists. And
so you thought, right, I'm going to mash them all together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Willjoy.
I've pretty much been a foodie for music all my life, so I've pretty much listened everything. I always love something that's lyrical or has melodies to dance to. So anything that has words or good melody, I'm all up for it. So
yeah. Did you ever listen to? So like we're from the same era. I'm wondering, like I got hooked on the new metal when I was sort of 13, 14. I was listening to Korn, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, System of a Down. I got hooked on all that stuff. Did you? Yes. Yeah, because you've got the long hair to go with it. So
Limp Bizkit was one of them. Yeah, and I listened
to
a lot of
Limp
rap
Bizkit.
Also. I listened to a lot of rap also. I mean, I listened 50 Cent and
I like Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
that's good.
I like that one song by Limp Bizkit. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Rolling. I like Rolling.
Right.
Rolling is good.
Have you listened to that first album? There's some tunes. There's like there's one called, is it Giving It Up? No, Living It Up.
Living It Up, yeah.
Yeah, I love that tune. And there's a few bangers on there. That was like
the only reason I even know it is because I watch wrestling, and Rolling used to be the Undertaker's theme song when he came out.
Right.
All right.
If I'm being completely honest, but I think I went back and downloaded it after probably
he's a good rapper. It's Fred Durst. Yeah, he's a good rapper. He's a good rapper, Fred Durst. He can do it all. Really? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to go check it out.
I'll send you the links or something.
This is gonna be a regular thing.
Yeah. I'll just keep sending you everything. Oh, actually, right. Yeah. So talking of regular things, that we need to try and tempt Willjoy into some sort of crazy mashup collab.
I was gonna ask if you had already asked that by the time I got on the call.
Yeah. So yeah, you basically the deal is Willjoy. You create the music, me and Origin just rap over the top, and then we get all the royalties. And that's how we.
Oh, I didn't know that was part of the deal. All right, let's do this.
All right. Oh man, well, Wilkes and Crxss now suddenly sounds like a lawyer's agency.
We'll call ourselves Wilkes Joy Crxss.
All right, that sounds good. It makes me feel that I'm not being swindled here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're one of the team.
Yeah, well, actually. And it just popped back in my head. You said something that I thought was super, super cool. You said you've been a foodie for music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never heard that. I like that. That is so cool. A foodie for music.
I've never actually disliked music. There's one genre I could say that I haven't listened that much, and it's death metal, because I can't tell what they're saying, and it's a lyrical issue. So
Yeah,
That's
you do right.
the only thing. I love the melodies that it has, but when I'm missing
Yeah, I like the
wording
drumming, but it's not all there. And about I like that as well. Foodie for music, and just see like a little bit from this dish over here, a little bit from this one over there.
yeah,
Nice little bit of wrap on a skewer.
exactly.
Rap Scampy.
Yeah. A little classical tart.
Yeah.
Loading up a plate.
And I can tell
lapping up those
right
flavors
now to go up somewhere in the future. My second album will have a lot of funk in it, so I will induce a lot of funk to my music as well in the future.
That's class, mate. Okay, so Willjoy, I've been looking at your website in preparation for this chat, and one thing I noticed in the description for your track "Broken," you were talking about changing your inner voice and delving back into childhood experiences, and kind of the lyrics in your track related to just kind of trying to make changes in your sort of inner monologue that might be really negative. And I've had the same thing. It's something I've explored in my adult life. I've been to like counselling and cognitive behavioural therapy and things, and I've had my issues with depression, and it's something that I've deliberately I've had to explore, because I got to the point where I realised that a lot of the damage was my inner voice, and wondered if that's also kind of a similar path to what you've been on, or whether you'd like to expand on that a little bit, because it's something, obviously you've written a song about it, something you've clearly put a lot of thought into. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts are on there, if you're comfortable talking about it.
Yes, I am. We all have our inner voice inside our heads, and it tends to be sided to positive or negative. It's only neutral. Rarely the case just to be neutral, but a lot of childhood activities and what happens in there infects a lot of what we think of ourselves. And I didn't have it easy growing up, and I found that I had to look for ways to see the silver linings in bad stuff just to keep myself sane, for example. So I had to do a lot of positive thinking to overcome the negative thinking. So I tend to try to find always something good when there's a bad situation. If it was how bad the situation was, I just finding something good about it, something positive to look on backwards. Because of course the negative stuff will always be there, but it's about the inner voice really, and training it not to be overcoming or overcumbering to what you're dealing with life or what you're doing in life. So it's a mental training. It's a mental training that it's constant.
Yeah, it is constant
throughout life. Yeah,
and I don't think a lot of people realize that, or well, they probably do, but maybe it takes age and wisdom to come to that point where you realize that, hang on, there's got to be something wrong with these initial thoughts as soon as I'm seeing something. And this, like, I don't know, you realize that not everyone does think that way. Not everyone is harsh on themselves and critical on themselves. And when, like, every time you say something, every time I say something, I'll hear the critic straight away in my head. I can hear the opposite of what's going on, and there's so much noise sometimes. And you realize that, not everybody does feel like that, and some people are just completely content. And one of my mates who never seems to get stressed at all, and I asked him one time, I was just like, how do you ever get to the point where you're just like so depressed and you just can't be bothered with anything, and you just think, what's the point? This is somewhere I've been a few times, and I'm better at dealing with it now, and now I can sort of talk myself out of it, like you say, by practicing on the inner voice. And he just said well, there's always hope, isn't there? And it was like, that was a nice little thought, I thought. And it was like, he was so matter of fact, like, well, no, because there's always hope. And it's like that must be what his inner voice is saying. Like, no matter how bad things get, he just doesn't let it get him down. He's just like, well, there's always hope. And I kind of admire that, but it does take practice if you're not that way inclined.
It does really, and it's a matter of, well, I personally think that whether we live or die, life goes on. It's just I try not to oversimplify things, but that's one of the ways I look at it. So life will always go on, and life will prevail, and I have to believe in that fact and go with the flow, as I'd say.
Yeah, just see what happens, take the pressure off, try and enjoy it.
To chime in, I guess, I don't know. I guess when I was younger, I was kind of depressed just from the way I grew up. I think I was always optimistic, no matter kind of what stage of life I was in. So I don't like, even now, things with my wife will come up and it'll be like, I have no idea how we're gonna pay this, and I'll just be like, well, we'll figure it out. And she'll freak out because I'm not freaking out.
Yeah.
And she's like, who are you? This is not the man I married. I'm like, well, I mean, we can only do about it what we can do about it. And if there's nothing we can do about it, why stress over something we can't control, you know?
Yeah.
That's a great mentality. And I think I've always had the same sort of mentality as well. But at the same time, if I was panicking about something, I wouldn't be like flapping around like, oh God, I'm so stressed. You know what I mean? I'd probably, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I'd still appear calm and collected in the way that I was talking about it. But inside I'd be, you know, frenzied, like feeling out of my depth sort of thing, you know, like sort of drowning feeling. And that's something I've struggled with because I can't really get that across. I'm not like a massively emotional guy on the outside, and my voice doesn't really change that much. I don't know. I don't know if you. I feel like maybe it's a man thing because you kind of get it suppressed.
Yes.
Do you agree with that, Willjoy?
Yeah, I think that resonates well, and that's probably one of the reasons I wrote out "Feel."
Okay. And I mean, with Phil, we're gonna take a listen to that. Actually, coming up next. If you want to give an introduction to the song, we can jump right into it.
I mean, yeah, I personally made the song as an ode to my father, who was a tough nut to crack, so to speak, and he was keeping all his feelings inside for throughout his whole life until maybe last 2-3 years of his life he started to open up more and seeing the positive outcome himself that it brought. It's just amazing, and it's about how you can feel more openly nowadays and get empowerment through that. So the narrative is changing in that term, and I'm learning in the process, and we're everybody learning in the process. But I think that maybe especially in male society, there are problems still with dealing with our feelings more openly. So I just thought I'd make as badass sound and voice as I could, and talk about a delicate subject in there.
I love that,
well.
mate. Love that. And it would be remiss of me not to give a shout out at this point to Andy's band club, who I'm involved with. I facilitate these men's mental health talking groups on Monday nights. So we get men together, they all sit in a circle, go around, ask some questions and talk about their feelings. And it's encouraged. It's like a non-judgmental, supportive environment. And you're absolutely right. I mean, this Andy's Man Club itself was kind of born out of tragedy through a guy called Andy Roberts who committed suicide. And I like to think that the more we can support men to feel, like you said with your tune as well, and the more we can support men to open up and be real and not have to put on this front and this facade all the time. I love what you said there about it being empowering to feel. Like that's I love that, because it feels counterintuitive to the sort of suppressed mind that I've grown up with, or you know, probably a lot of my mates and stuff as well, where you feel like, you know, this image of what makes a man and being a man, and it suppresses
turns that
you.
Table over.
Yeah, so I love that, and yeah, I do like to think that the tide's turning on that one.
Well, without further ado, let's take a listen.
Do you want to sing it for us, Will?
You have to get on the line, always putting your problems aside. If you want to be turning the tide, what you need is a power line. You have to deal with the doubt. Get the root and pull it all out. No dream comes from looking behind. You have to just walk to the light if you want to see what is real. You got to know the vibes that you deal. I think that's privilege.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
do, man.
Our first live performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd actually do it. So
Hey,
that was amazing,
you
mate.
threw the bone and I took it.
I know, I slapped you with the velvet glove. You were up to the challenge.
Yeah, challenge accepted.
Oh, so actually, what's weird is, I don't know. Basically, in my like marriage, it's the opposite. I feel like kind of, where I will be more vocal about how I'm feeling than my wife will in certain areas. It's like, my wife's a girl, so sometimes she feels a lot of feelings a lot of the time. Me, on the other hand, I grew up and I would tell people like I don't have feelings. Like I get angry, I get hungry, and I get bored, and like that's the range of emotions that I feel. And I don't know, with like in my like actual relationship was like the only place where I kind of like, all right, I can feel sad, or I can feel this, or I can feel that, and I feel like these are things we need to talk about. And like I don't feel like less manly for doing it, because I feel like communication is important within the relationship. But for me, it's always been weird to allow myself to feel, because I always felt stronger not feeling.
Yeah, I think that's taught and learned from
Yeah, that's a
childhood.
bit of a defense mechanism, that, isn't it? Like, once you get upset so many times, and then you teach yourself maybe not to cry, or not to, or not to get upset. And I feel like a lot of men do that. And then it's interesting that you say those three feelings. Anger was the first one. And I think that's a lot of men, you get upset, you've already automatically processed that. So as soon as you're about to get upset, just you suck it in, and suddenly you're angry. It's like it comes out. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
strange
how,
one.
So
how it
close
worked for
to
me.
sadness.
Everything that wasn't either happy or something like that automatically got converted directly into anger. Like it was
Yeah.
sadness. Oh no, anger.
It's like autocorrect.
Yeah, literally. And I have like, I'm weird. Like I'm like a rageaholic almost. Like I, in a weird way, like when I'm really, really angry, and like I go to that place that people probably would never want to see me if it was directed at them. But I feel like I understand that I shouldn't like it as much as I do. And that's why I try to stay as like even keel as possible, because I feel like if I go to that place at the wrong time, the wrong person, the circumstances could get really, really bad, really, really fast.
Yeah.
So I think I try to stay as like mellow as possible, and I don't let things get to me on purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we're musicians as well. But sorry, just thinking, because that feeling, I know what you mean, and I don't get really angry. I'm always pretty calm. I don't really get angry much. But I know what you mean. When I have been really angry, you get that adrenaline rush. It's like, you feel alive, basically. I think that's what it is. It's like you can feel your own energy. You start to tremble. You've got adrenaline. You've got testosterone surging through your veins. You're like a man possessed, and you can't not like that feeling. As long as you don't end up smashing your house apart and anything like that, it's okay if you have that feeling. But maybe that's with music as well. You're kind of chasing that high of like being on a stage and people cheering, and like, or just doing it yourself and feeling like you've nailed a performance and stuff like that. And that's like a healthy way to get that adrenaline rush. And maybe that's what deep down has kind of guided us all to this path of music, of kind of chasing those highs without having to get angry and mess things up and whatever else. We need an outlet.
Yeah, exactly. I can easily agree with that, because me personally, I don't have any degree on anything, but I sense that I'm a pretty laid back person as well. But when I get angry, I mean the anger is real and it's there and it's instant and it's violent. But the anger itself, it's a purge. It's a purge, and it's just purging out things, and usually what comes after, while I think about it, it's sadness for something. Like I'm really sad that this has to be this way, or this has the power to make me feel such a strong negative emotion. And it's just like thinking more about the fact that what makes me feel that exact emotion helps me to deal with, the anger itself, and not maybe purging myself out in the public, so to speak, as well.
Are you would you say you're passive aggressive, or you deal with anger in a way where things may annoy you or get to you and you don't address it, and then you kind of feel like once you do end up going off, it's kind of all of that all balled up directed at whatever that one problem is?
No, I tend to, if I get pissed off at somebody, I'll tell them straight to fuck off. So it's like I usually, if I bottle something up, it's never good, isn't it? I mean, I'm not passive aggressive. I just live with the moment. I tend to feel more openly than I did maybe, let's say, 10 years ago. I was like a cool, cold fronted, no smile, no smiles on the face, and then I would just be, well, I don't know, destructive, I guess. But nowadays, I'm in a better place in that sense, and I can deconstruct my anger better, and I will let it out, so to speak. I mean, more upfront nowadays. So I think that it has changed. I have evolved.
Definitely, I'd say, yeah, I'm the same. When I was, 10 years ago, I might have just grabbed a glass bottle and thrown it on the road for no reason, or, kicked a wall, or punched a bin, or anything equally as
perfect example,
mindlessly reckless. Yeah, but you still got those emotions. You just learn how to deal with them better, don't you? But I think that takes effort. It takes a certain amount of thinking about why you're doing certain behaviors, why you are who you are, etc. Before you can even like purge that. So it takes a will to, like you say, reflection and looking at yourself and feeling a bit sad and going, that's not the guy I want to be. I want to be able to get over this stuff. And writing helps with that. Yeah, people help with that. Talking helps with that. Writing, any creative activity, whether it's art, whatever you want to do. Yeah, loads of stuff. Yeah, it's like turning the Titanic. I think one bit at a time.
So for both of you guys, you're past or getting past or some point beyond that kind of blind rage stage of life that seems like a lot of us go through based on this conversation.
Yeah.
Are you guys happier now that you're no longer dealing with your anger in the same ways?
A lot happier, a lot cooler, a lot calmer, and more content with life in general, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd echo some of those words. I think contentment. I mean, I'll be honest, I still have days, and even a couple of days in the last week where I just lost all motivation, and I just felt, a bit like nothing mattered. But I feel like I'm better at dealing with that feeling now, because I've developed techniques through CBT and through Andy's Man Club and all the other kind of stuff that I've done and addressed over the last sort of 5 years to try and get myself out of these mental health holes. I feel like I'll always get into those holes. So I can't say that I'm happy. I can't say that. Well, I can't sort of concretely say that ever. But yes, I am happy. I'm a happy guy, because I know it's going to kind of come back and bite me sometimes, and I can be happy for a week and then think that everything's fine, and then suddenly I'll just go into a slump for no reason, or start, thinking about just slipping into negative thinking patterns, thinking about the past, thinking about all sorts of things that just have dragged me down through the years. I don't want to get too depressing, but I think Mike Tyson said it on one of the podcasts I listened to about happy. He's like, what is happiness? It's fleeting moments. You know, it's times where you've got, you know, I'll be happy for an hour and then I'll slip back down to content, or just I'm trying to live in the moment more. But I'll take content any day. Do you know what I mean? I'll take just an, you know, if I feel average, if I feel okay, I'll take that. But yeah, I definitely to go back to your question, 100%. I feel happier than I did 10 years ago, where I didn't have any ways of coping with anything, and I felt, you know, even when I did feel happy, I was creating some sort of earthquake on the other. I don't know. I'm not going to go into all this now. I might write a book on it one day, but yeah, I do think there's a certain contentment, and there's definitely. I just like the calm now. I take the calm, and yeah.
Well, actually, to clarify, what I was actually asking is not necessarily are you a happier person, but are you happy about the fact that that is no longer how you deal with those emotions? Because I know for me personally, I was so driven by anger and doing things in spite of this situation in my life, and showing that I was better than my circumstances, that was what fueled me and what motivated me. And further in life that I got away from those things that were negative, the less I felt like I had motivation. And that in itself made me feel sad, I guess, because I felt like I don't have any motivation without my anger. So that to me, in a moment, I was like, I don't think I'm happy or not angry, or I don't think that I'm happy about not being angry.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there. I know. I think for me, the answer is yes. I'm very, very happy that I now, you know, don't have that same level of rage, because I think I've still got that anger. I've still got the fire. I've still got the, you know, if I see injustice or if I see something I don't like, I still get that rage inside. But I just got better ways to process it. So, you know, I'll write music. Stuff like Poverty in the UK for me was something that I released because I see, you know, people sat in mansions throwing money away on these like really expensive gold bottles of vodka and all the rest of it. And then you go 2 miles down the road, there's people sleeping on the streets, like no money, you know, no hope, people just treating them like dirt. That makes me really angry. But instead of taking out on, you know, instead of just bottling it up and, you know, getting in some sort of rage when I've had a few drinks sometime because of how unfair the world is, I've got better ways to cope with that now. So I don't see it as that different. I just see it as like, you know, now for me, being able to rap, being able to kind of talk and just get things off my chest, that's the way of dealing with it. But the anger's still there, but the rage is kind of, it's not physical anymore.
Yeah, I tend to agree on that. And the sadness is easily transformed to anger, and anger can be channeled in so many ways. I mean, if you just, you know, pissed off a little bit something, you can just, or somebody tells you that you can't do this, and I'll show you off. I'll do this, and it's just like channeling things correctly instead of telling the one that tries to shut you off is just beating him down. Instead, you just show him. So it's just channeling, I guess.
So yeah, that's a great discussion. And going back onto your music, feel it's a great track. Do you think you found your sound now with that, or do you think you'll kind of keep experimenting because your back catalogue, there's slight differences every time, but I feel like you're getting towards quite a consistent, unique Willjoy sound. How do you feel about
that? I feel like I'm gonna keep experimenting a lot. So I'm thinking musically. I'm thinking I'm never locking on a direct path, so to speak. I got a million sounds in me that wants to be let out, and they are all somewhat different. So there's a lot of experimenting coming, and I'll just go with the flow and see what it brings. And maybe it brings good stuff and maybe it brings bad stuff. Maybe it brings both, but I don't care. I really do this more to myself and to the people. And if somebody doesn't like something, it's totally okay.
That's the way to do it, mate.
Yeah, definitely. The experimenting makes it fun, and without it being fun, it's not worth doing.
I agree.
So before we wrap up, what does the future hold for Willjoy? Is are you looking at long term? I know you said you already have album 2 already in the works. We got stuff that's already prepped and ready to go. So what can we expect to see from you even later this year, or just going forward in general?
Well, to be simple as possible, I will first say that I decided that I made myself as an art project for life. So this music that I started doing, it just brought me inner peace. So that's the thing I will be doing the rest of my life. I'm sure of it. In
Yeah, love that, man.
one way or another.
I'm with you.
So
Same here, mate. It's all about that peace.
yeah, and more concrete. Maybe at the end of next month, I'll be releasing a new single, and after that, there will be 2 singles before I release my debut album. So I'm skipping EP altogether, and I'm just jumping into the album altogether. And I have YouTube content in the creation, and I have collaboration that is coming up maybe next month, or I don't know. We haven't talked it yet, but it's inside NAS as well. And I have a live performance coming up with this song that you just heard, and there's something brewing towards maybe next Eurovision contest, but we'll see what happens with that. So I got a lot of irons in the fire right now.
That'd be amazing, man. I'd love to get on the Eurovision. I like to watch it. So we're Lordi from Finland, or were they Norwegian?
Yeah, well,
Lordi.
Yeah.
Were they Finnish?
Lordi, yes, they were. And
right,
they won,
Finnish legends. Yeah, you could be the next hard rock hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's all about that. And just out of interest, when you say you're releasing a new album, are you going to put the tunes that you've already released on there as well, or is it just going to be an album of completely new material?
It's the tunes that I've already released will be included in the album.
Yeah.
So it will be two-sided.
Good.
So it will be dark and the dark side is what you've seen so far. So the next single will be on the light side. So it will be a slightly different approach. So it will be
That's
a lot
cool, man.
more cheerier than this has been so far.
Really looking forward to hearing that.
I didn't know you only had 4 songs out. I just went to your artist page, press play, and I'm like, well, it'll play everything. And I'm like washing dishes, and then it played Phil last, and then Phil came right back on. And I'm like thinking I messed something up, and I'm like, how? I'm sitting here washing dishes, and I went back. I'm like, oh, there's only 4 songs on here. And I'm like, It just started where it ended, and it was gonna keep going.
I've been releasing music under a year, so yeah, I spent the whole first year of learning my DAW and how to make music. Just so.
You've done well, man. You've done well.
Thank you.
I mean, if you're creating everything from scratch yourself as well, like you are, like I said earlier on, there's no way I'd have 4 singles out in a year. I probably would have had 1.5, and about 200 unfinished projects. So you've done well. I think a part of the challenge of becoming an artist is just to finish a song. There's so many musicians out there you just cannot finish a song. So yeah, to have 4, you should be proud of yourself, man. And it's going to be a big. I like that you're similar to me, and that you've waited until in your early 30s to actually start doing this, and now you're doing it. It's like, where has this been all my life?
Exactly. Yeah. And now I got the courage, and it's now it's the right time. It feels the right time. So.
Yeah, the courage is
It's
the
gotta
one.
be the
Yeah,
right
because the
time.
dream's always been there, hasn't it? It's
Yeah,
always been
it
pecking
has,
away at
yes.
the back of your head, and the pecking's
Yep.
getting louder and louder until you're like, right, okay, I'll release a single.
All right, I'll go with it.
Shut up, rage. So yeah, mate, it's been a pleasure to meet you. Really enjoyed this podcast.
Same here.
Really great chat. So anyone who's been listening, I'm sure they're going to want to listen to your music after all this. So tell us where we can find you, your social media links, everything like that.
Well, first you can go to www.theoriginalwilljoy.com. That's my main page where you can find pretty much everything. But if you want to check out my Instagram, check out The Original Willjoy, and my Twitter is reversed. It's Willjoy Original. So there you go. That's
Is there a fake Willjoy out there trying to
I think there might be some. I think there might be some kind of goodwill or some kind of charity behind that name of Willjoy or something.
Goodwill definitely exists.
So you're bad Will then?
I'm a bad Will, but in a good way.
Yeah. The original, yeah. The original sounds better than bad Will, so I think you picked the right one there. Yeah.
Well, what about Dark Will? You got the dark and the light going for him.
Well, maybe I should put. Well, that's a good idea for my promo pictures.
Maybe it should be Will Joy and Will Despair.
Actually, to talk about shortly about my name, Willjoy, it's actually really close to my original parent given name. It's my real name is Viljo. It's Viljo. So it's just like a cool way of saying
Viljo. It's Viljo.
It's like a cool way of saying my name. Willjoy. It says I made it up so long ago, so I can't even remember. So I just stick with it. And it's a double meaning, of course. You have to have the will to create joy in your life, and that's a motto for me as well.
Well, that's dope. I like things that have deeper meanings behind them.
Yeah,
it's the lyricist in me.
Great things.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and it was a great chat. We talked about a lot. We covered a lot. It was a really good conversation. We're gonna have to talk again. I already know that. For now, I want to thank all the listeners tuning in on Spotify or listening to us as audio. Obviously, the YouTube community that get to see our lovely, manly, rugged faces. To everyone in the NAS community, the mods, the partners, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.